So,
Sorry, I thought you were.
so welcome. So welcome to episode 5 of 10 with Tom. I'm Tom, and this is where we explore faith 10 minutes at a time. Today we're talking about starting small. I hate getting up in the morning, especially to exercise. When my alarm starts beeping on the outskirts of my when my alarm starts beeping on the outskirts of my duvet, I just roll over, and that's when all the excuses start marching through my mind like a defiant procession. You know, I'm too tired, I don't want to do this, it's raining, I'm sure it's raining. You know, I exercised yesterday, I'll do tomorrow again. But every time that I give into the allure of my bed, I always regret it. And I always say later, oh man, I wish I'd gone exercising, or I wish I'd run this morning, because I would have felt so much better. As Richard Watley, the English philosopher and economist says, he says, lose an hour in the morning and you'll spend all day looking for it. Now, I never actually used to enjoy running. In fact, I hated running because I wasn't very good at it. But the more I did it, the more I began to enjoy it. And now running and training early in the morning is kind of part of my daily existence. There's something for me now about running that's almost like metronomic. There's something meditative about it. But no matter how much I enjoy running, or the feeling I get after I've had a run, I still find it incredibly difficult to wake up in the morning when that alarm goes off, until I instituted a little trick that works every time. Now, when the alarm starts beeping and I really don't want to get out of bed, I tell myself, I literally do this, I say, I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm not going to go running. I'm just going to get my feet out of the bed. I'm going to stand up and I'm just going to put my running shoes on, and then I'm going to take them off and get back into bed. And I tell myself that. And the crazy thing is that once I've got my running shoes on, I've never actually gotten back into bed again, because then I put the rest of my running clothes on. I know this is weird to put your shoes on before your pants, but just bear with me. It works. And that's the crazy thing. Then I go running because I'm like, oh, I'm already up now. I'm already dressed. I might as well go running. Then I run, and then I always feel good about the fact that I went running. Now, there's actually brain research to prove, and neuroscience to prove, why this little trick actually works. It kind of plays into this fundamental principle that when we decide to make a small change, it can actually lead to a big difference down the track. I like to say, when you change one thing, it changes everything. I think too often we get overwhelmed by all the things that we want to do and want to change and want to fix and improve, that we actually become paralyzed. It all gets too overwhelming and too much, and we don't know where to start. So often we fall into the trap of believing that in order to see big results, we have to make big changes. But I'm here to tell you today that that simply isn't true. So whether you're trying to eat healthier, whether you're trying to spend more time with your kids or read your Bible more, instead of trying to sort of overhaul your entire life and change everything you eat, do, or think, rather focus on just a small tweak or a small change, because those small changes actually lead to big results. Let me give you one more example. I'm going to read you, this was from an article that I read about a hurdler. In 2005, 3-time Olympian hurdler Deval O'Rourke sat down with her coach, Jim Kilty, to examine the tapes of her previous race seasons. And they wondered why her natural speed wasn't being converted onto the track. She wasn't fulfilling her potential, and so she's quite frustrated. And there are many things she could have changed to make her race better, but the coach decided that he was going to focus on just one thing, just the time that she took as she jumped over the hurdle. And for weeks, Kilty and O'Rourke, they tried to iron out the problem, breaking down her technique and devising a new and enhanced formula. She worked on this day after day, culminating in a 2-week training camp in Portugal. And it was like a golfer dismantling their swing and starting from scratch. And this is what she says. She says, at the end of the 2 weeks, I cried. I thought it was a huge disaster. We had done so much work and I felt I wasn't getting anywhere. The season was starting in a few weeks and I was actually getting slower. The new strategy wasn't working, and at this stage I'd changed so much that I couldn't go back to the old technique. However, in the first race of the season, Deval ran an 8.02, her personal best. And then a few weeks later, she ran her first sub-8-second race, followed by a 7.9 in Belfast the week after. And then on March 11th, 2006, Duval won the World Indoor 60-meter hurdles championships with a national record time of 7.84 seconds. It's a record that still stands to this day. Of course, O'Rourke could have kind of let the slump hold her back, paralyze her. She could have simply continued to do what she always knew to do, the original technique, or she could have become overwhelmed by all the numerous flaws and things she had to tweak and change. But instead, her coach and her knew something that we so often miss. It's amazing what can happen with a small tweak in technique. Is it possible that the same is true for you? That what you need right now is not to radically change your world or completely alter your whole life, but rather a small change in your approach. Ask yourself, here's the question: what one thing, if it got better, would make the biggest difference in my life? Just the one thing. Maybe you want to think about that now. On Sunday, we started a new series called Move That Mountain, and I spoke from Zechariah chapter 4. And if you missed the message, I really encourage you, you can click on the link, or you can watch, it'll be a thumbnail at the end of the video. But in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10, and this is the verse I want to focus on, he reminds the people, he says, "Do not despise small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." You see, there's something powerful about beginning, and it's these small beginnings that so often lead to big results. That's really what I'm trying to say to you today. And so here are 3 mantras that have helped me tremendously over the years to start, to begin, and hopefully can help you too. The first is this: do the next right thing. I love what John Maxwell says. He says, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Williams Wordsworth said this: to begin, begin. It's that simple. We just have to start. There has to be a start. And if you go back to Zechariah 4, verse 1, it says this: "Then the angel who had been talking with me returned and woke me as though I had been asleep. And then the angel asked me, 'What do you see now?'" I mean, what a profound question if you think about it, because what the angel is saying is, Zechariah, what do you see right now? What is right in front of you that you can do right now? What's the next right thing you can do? Well, just do that. Do not be overwhelmed by the big dream or the big outcome that you long to see, or the big things you see other people supposedly doing on social media. Simply focus on your next step. And then once you've done that, then you ask that same question again. What's the next smallest action that I can do that's going to move me towards my preferred future? Do the next right thing. The second thing is, give yourself permission to do mediocre work. Oh, this is going to really grind some of you, because there's the perfectionists who are watching. Kerry, I'm looking at you. Okay. Give yourself permission to do a mediocre work. Sometimes I think I put the pro in procrastination, and this is no more evident than when I get to creative writing or even sermon prepping. So often, I have this block when I sit down to actually try and come up with things. And I think part of the reason is what I like to call the tyranny of perfection. Because my mind tells me that if I don't have a fantastic idea or an amazing thought or an incredibly profound thing, well, then it's not good enough. And so nothing's good enough. And so I just write nothing. Kerry's nodding. Yeah. Stephen King, one of the most prolific novelists of our time, he said this: "Amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get on and go to work." You see, the problem with perfectionism is that it can be the enemy of progress. Boom. Yeah. Here's the truth. Sometimes good enough is good enough. And it's enough to get the ball rolling. An average workout, a not so healthy smoothie, a not so amazing conversation, that's okay. All of these are better than no action or inaction. So give yourself permission to do mediocre work, and you might find yourself actually doing fantastic work. And then finally, the third thing is trust God. Zechariah is very, very clear. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. I spoke about this on Sunday. Following Jesus, becoming who God intended you to be, is not a linear path. It takes time. It's a tough road with ups and downs, and we simply cannot do it on our own. We need God's Spirit empowering us, challenging us, convicting us, comforting us, and coming alongside us. In fact, that's the Greek word that they used for the Holy Spirit is the word parakletos. And it literally means the one called alongside. I mean, isn't that so comforting to know? That we don't do any of this alone, that God is always with us. And that's incredibly comforting. So do what you can. Take the next step. Do the work that you can do, but then trust God to do what only He can do. Thank you so much for... I'm going to start that again. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of 10 with Tom. I'm super...
You super?
Yeah, I'm super. Thank you so much for joining us with another episode... Now you're going to make me laugh. Thank you for joining us for another episode of 10 with Tom. And by the way, 10 with Tom and Dill, because check, he snuck back in there with the picture. Dill is the ghost of Dylan Khoos, is still blessing us with this present. But thank you for watching another episode of 10 with Tom. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't already to our channel, and click the bell if you want to be notified when videos get released. Share this with people in your world. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.